Good evening. This is the October 21st meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The time is 6:01. Our first order of business is to convene to work session, which we'll hold until about 6:30, and then we'll convene into general session. So with that, I will convene the Planning and Zoning Commission to work session.
Stuff.
Yeah.
PVC
But over
coming out of the
the course
ground,
of-
but
Then it kind of
Nothing
after
sense.
they
That
submit
looks
something, you
a little
review
sad.
it and send it back and.
Yeah. So it all depends. Some cases require more interaction. A lot of it's, email or phone calls kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, are we ready?
Okay. So this is the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for October 21st. Our first order of business is work session. We'll do the roll call. I'm Chairman Edmund Haas. Commissioner Guerra.
Here.
Commissioner Portman.
Here.
Commissioner Blankenship.
Present.
Commissioner Bishop.
Here.
Commissioner Walker.
Also present.
Commissioner Mora.
Present.
And staff that's present. Mary, I'll let you introduce staff, and we'll go straight into work session.
Myself, Mary from Boswell, planner. Matt Steer. Cole Baker. Mike Garza. Matt. Mike Garza and Kenny McGee.
Okay.
So you all received your shirts.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There is
Official now.
there is a caveat.
Uh-oh.
Just wear responsibly.
No drinking and shirting.
Exactly.
Got it.
You are representing the city of Coppell. So, but I know you guys will be fine. So this evening we have several agenda items to go over. Very quickly, we'll just talk about what went to council. So the chess club ordinance went to council in October, and then the live work item went back to city council and was approved at the end of September. So that did twice at city council. So Matt will be taking the ordinance for that shortly. So we do have the first two items. I'll let Matt talk about.
All right. The first item is basically they were, it's 528 and 532 South Coppell Road. If you've been on the commission for a long time, the Carlos and Maria Orosa came through the zoning process and proposed to tear down the northern building, build a two-story office, and have shared parking with the adjacent property owner to the south, who happens to be Gene Murph, the former owner of Citizens Advocate. So the northern property has undergone other ownership since that time. It was sold to Charles Price and last to Debbie Baum. So Debbie went to refinance her house and they said, well, it's zoned for an office, so we can't refinance your house. And so she came back and she was asking what she could do. And so rather than repeal the zoning, we're establishing a new PD that basically is like repealing the zoning. So it's bringing it back to the existing conditions. So the northernmost property has got a footprint, single-family residence with a detached garage, and the southern property has a small building footprint. If any of those are destroyed or damaged by fire and they need to rebuild, then they can in the existing conditions. If they want to tear down and rebuild like a new residential development, they would have to come back through the PD process. So essentially, we're approving it for what it is right now, so she can get her property refinanced.
Didn't her original mortgage company catch that?
I don't know.
Like
I
when
don't
she went
know.
to buy it and they said,
I don't know the dynamics of that, but anyway, that's what that case is about. We sent out notices surrounding property owners. We only had one call who was asking about, hey, this isn't rezoning my property. And so he declined to say whether he was in support or in opposition. So that was the only sort of response we got on that.
And because it's a historic district, there's no negative implications on maintaining that historic district?
No, nothing negative. The future land use plan would still apply. So when they come ask staff that question, hey, I want to do something, I want to, what can be done with our property, we would look at the comp plan. Comp plan calls for office or retail on the first floor with a residence on the second floor. So basically a live-work unit.
So say again, sir, what if they want to rebuild their house
Their house in the existing configuration could be rebuilt
without approval?
without coming through any process. They would need to meet the current codes, current building codes, but they wouldn't need a zoning approval.
Okay.
Because we're putting them in a position where they would have what they're supposed to have.
Right.
And if there's special overlay from historic district, those rules apply too.
Yes, correct. Yeah, so there isn't an overlay anymore. Technically, it's a straight historic district. The next case is the Avenue at Denton Tap. It's a replat for a case that was approved in 2014. It was kind of a controversial case, but they did get the zoning for a mixed-use product. There's 29 residences with 8,500 square feet of retail on the first floor. They're platting in conformance with what was approved with the zoning, so really it's a ministerial, and if they meet the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, you have to approve it, so.
So one of the big deals was drainage. So that still has to go through the engineering process and
Right, yep,
review? Okay.
correct.
Okay.
So if we have to approve it, why is it even here before us?
Well, to make sure that it meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance.
The big drainage problem was behind to the west.
It was a shed into that neighborhood.
That's right. It's the entrance to the neighborhood that floods.
So
But
the
it's not
planning,
caused by the traffic north of the Dairy Queen. That's
Exactly.
part of that development.
Mike, you want to talk about drainage?
Yeah, the whole property, the whole area is flat, but the intended flow is, the majority of it goes from south to north towards the dark right of way.
If there's a cause for drainage improvements, is this applicant responsible for it, or is that becoming?
Not the entire stretch. What they're responsible for is if there's any that they need to pick up and collect, they're responsible for that. Any drainage that they're causing to go run off. We've been working in that neighborhood to go ahead and regrade those ditches and get that fixed.
Yeah, I knew there was a problem down there.
So is the land the city owns to the north, is that the right of way that you're speaking of, or is that different?
Yeah, it's the old alley, or alley right of way.
Okay.
Oh, alley,
It's
okay.
alley, yeah.
And so with the original PD that was approved, we agreed to allow them to put evergreen landscaping in there.
Okay. And then do you know, is there a decel lane that's gonna be constructed with the improvements on Beltline into that? No?
And,
Not that I
well,
recall.
so,
I don't think there was one on the
into
site
the
plan.
Dairy Queen, I think we were talking about that, weren't we?
I don't recall.
Not for the avenue. I don't recall for the avenue, but
Okay.
There's a right turn lane at Denton Tap and Southwestern, I think you guys are working on.
Yeah, I'm not absolutely sure.
probably one of those things we could have maybe looked at, but the feeling was it wasn't going to be that significant of an impact during peak hour, because peak hour is northbound. And it's
Yeah.
It's 29 minutes.
Yeah, I printed off the approved site plan. It doesn't look like there's a decel lane there.
Yeah, I didn't think there was. but-
And this is a 3-story building?
Yes, ma'am.
I thought you said it was, I guess you don't, you were saying it was 2, but it's 3. Or
It
your,
is-
your recollection last
It
time?
is 3. There's the retail on the first floor, the
Yep,
second
Wow.
floor.
but I can't oppose that,
You can't oppose the
This is
zoning.
just the plat.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Zoning
it
was
gonna come
done-
before us again then with
No.
the building? Okay.
No, yeah,
That
it
was done
was,
7 years ago. They're just getting around to platting it now. Pretty much.
that's fine. Any other questions?
When it was done 7 years ago, was it 2 stories or 3?
It was 3. What we did was we negotiated the 3rd floor, and we had them step that back because that was going to impose on the neighborhood. So we said, okay, lose a couple units here and bring it back further to the south, I guess.
Okay.
So yeah, the 3rd floor is not exactly identical to the 2nd story.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so then the next item is the gas station at 1301 Beltline, East Beltline Road, so Beltline and MacArthur. It's an existing gas station with Chevron. What they're looking to do is to tear down the existing convenience store, which is like pretty tiny in relation to convenience stores nowadays. Tear that down, tear down the car wash that's there as well, and build a 4,500 square foot convenience store with a little, I think, restaurant component. Keep the existing canopy. They're gonna put in 27 parking spots, redo the landscaping on it. They're adding a bunch of trees there, redoing the fire lane configuration and the driveways. And let's see here.
Much nicer aesthetic, for sure.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, we
Nice
worked
picture.
with them for like quite a few months,
Yeah.
refining it and coming back and forth. So we feel confident that this will be a nice addition to that corner.
Can I ask you a question about it?
Yeah.
So there was reference to the fact that the monument sign was going to remain the same, and staff recommended that they conform that to the aesthetic of the building, but there was no staff recommendation or condition
Right,
imposed to that
when I
effect.
went back and looked at it, I thought there was brick around it, but there's not, it's just the sign itself. So I didn't put a recommendation, I just left it the way it was.
Are they opposed to dressing it up?
Not necessarily, I think you could bring that up,
I mean,
because they've been pretty amenable to anything that we've asked them to do. They're not proposing any signage for the building, it's just the signage that's on the actual, fuel pump area, like not even on the canopy or anything. Because they just really didn't want to ask for any variances, and we worked really hard to make this site work.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm really care to mandate anything, but
If it was brick, that's where I was going with it, and then I went back and looked at it and went, oh, okay,
it'd be
I was
color brick
mistaken.
and all like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like the columns on the canopy, I made them match the stone that they're using on the building.
Yeah, it's nice. It's gonna really dress up that corner.
Yeah,
Is there a picture of it in the presentation?
of the
Of the
existing or the new,
existing,
yeah.
the sign?
Oh, the sign?
There was in the, yeah,
The
there
report,
was.
yeah.
In your
The
packet.
report, uh-huh.
I didn't put it in this.
There it is, photo of existing monument.
I didn't put it in my presentation.
Do you know if there's lighting on the back of the building? I couldn't tell from the elevation.
I don't know.
'Cause it's gonna be right up against the property line, right?
Yeah,
Right
there's like
against
the Boston
drive to the
Market.
Boston Market,
Yeah,
yeah.
and we got a few doors back there. I would imagine they'd have probably some wall packs or something. But they'll show that when they come in for building.
Mary did have a question about the canopy, and
Yeah.
it being the existing size. Any reason for that? It just seemed, since they're making the building bigger, I thought maybe the canopy be increased a little bit. Because I've used that station before, it just seems like it's a small canopy, but maybe it's just,
I think just based on the size of the site,
we can't do much more.
that to make the fire lane and everything work, it's,
That makes sense, okay.
yeah. So they're actually adding 2 pumps because where the convenience store is currently, they're taking that out, and so those 2 columns there, they're gonna add 2 pumps there.
Okay.
Can a condition of the approval be that they fully lease the whole center with it? Just thought I'd ask.
That's not gonna happen.
If we build it, they will come.
At least they
Yeah.
won't make it happen.
That center is a perfect example of why that's not
The
true.
Maple Mart Center.
Yeah. You know, if they owned it, it'd be one thing, but,
So Mary, how would we ensure that they do have ample lighting around the building, especially in the back?
that they have ample lighting?
Just from a safety standpoint. Because, I mean, there will be a little bit of a gap, and, you know, behind gas stations, sometimes there's,
Yeah, we can ask them, but I would think it's part of, when they come in for building permits, usually it's the opposite. People are like, we don't want all the lighting, but, yeah, we can talk to,
yeah.
we can talk to Moser, he's,
Yeah, the real
It's
problem
pretty
is the
minimal.
Boston market just doesn't have very much business.
Well, no, it's closed.
it's closed.
Yes.
Not anymore.
They have closed.
It's
Yeah.
really limited.
So,
Closed for a while.
so a new bakery is gonna go in there.
No way.
Oh,
A bakery.
Yeah, cards, no.
Yeah, I just saw a building permit,
That's how we're
so,
What kind of bakery?
I wish I could remember the name.
Yeah, sure.
It's,
A doggy baker.
no, it's for humans.
Dang it.
It's for humans, but yeah, sorry. I'll look up the name while she's
Reason
doing
when
her
I saw
other
the back
cases.
of the gas station, I thought, or the Maple Mart, I saw mural potential. It's just
Yeah.
a giant,
We only allow murals in Old Town.
Yeah, only in Old Town,
I know.
potential
They had to
for,
get rid of a sign mural at a certain burger place, I remember.
and a certain other place.
Yeah.
Because the kolache place is going out of business.
Yeah,
Yeah, I heard that.
they should move into there.
They're retiring, I think, though. I don't think it's,
Is that the one next to Dickie's?
no, the
No,
one next to Penn Eight.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's a good one.
They've been there
I
a
know.
long time. Well, they said they were having lease negotiation problems with their landlord, so now's a good time to retire.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'll tell you,
Is that imminent?
disease is
Like-
going around all over.
Yeah,
End
well,
of the
Marcy
month,
told,
or-
Yeah.
Marcy told me it was coming.
Didn't her daughter work there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shucks. They were good.
So, the next item is just the companion items, the plat. So basically showing the abandonment of the fire lane and then the new fire lane configuration and any other easements that they need. Okay, then item 10 is the Homewood Suites and Hilton Garden Inn. So back in 2018, P&Z and council approved Homewood Suites on a portion of this site. So basically 3 and something acres. It was never constructed. We've talked to them previously. They were, trying to do some other things. But they're coming back now for the Homewood Suites, and they're adding a Hilton Garden Inn to the site. So it's all gonna be on one lot. So we've worked with them for several months as well. There's gonna be 2 phases. The Homewood Suites is in phase 1. The Hilton Garden Inn would be in phase 2. The original proposal that was approved was for 129 rooms on the Homewood Suites. This one is a little bit more, it's 138. The Hilton Garden Inn will have 134. And then once you add the rooms, plus any commercial area and stuff, the required number of parking is like 298. They're providing like 283. So there is a parking deficit, which equals about 5%. So between the 2 hotels, it's like 15 parking spaces, 7.5, whatever, each. And so they are providing shuttle services with their hotels. And basically, I think based on their previous experience is the location of the site, the number of people that either take some kind of ride share to the hotels now from the airport versus renting a car, or take the shuttle service. is kind of what they're saying. They feel that the amount of parking will suffice for them.
Mm-hmm.
So is there shuttle service to and from the airport? It's not like to the grocery store, right?
We could ask them, but, so there's several PD conditions with this one. Obviously, exceeding the acreage density requirement for a residence hotel. That's because they're providing certain amenities in the rooms, which make it a residence hotel. The thought process there being, that if it ever went out of business, that it would convert to some kind of multifamily unit. But this is a Hilton Homewood Suites. It's on one lot with another hotel. I don't think there's a fear of it converting into any type of multifamily. And this product was approved, like I said, back in 2018. So it's just kind of redone a little bit. So there are some other variances. One is obviously the reduction in parking. Part of that was we worked with them to add some additional parking, like 15 or 16 parking spaces, which kind of aid in. The lot's really, it's very curvy, linear. It's not a nice square lot. So in phase 2, there's a section up on Dividend Drive where we work with them to add about 15 or 16 parking spaces, but that kind of ate into that landscape buffer. It's still about 12 feet, but it's not like, 20 feet or anything like that. And staff is okay with that. We'd rather have the extra parking spots and just be short a couple feet of landscaping, because they are providing other amenities on site in terms of the pool area and patio area, which I think people are looking for more. They're planting like 110 trees on the site, so they're versus the 82 that they're required to do. So they've gone above on other areas to make up for it. One loading zone for the 2 hotels. And then the Homewood Suites has a limited service restaurant. The Hilton Garden Inn will have a full service restaurant. So that also accounted for some of that parking because of the full service restaurant.
So what are the dumpster requirements for when you have a combined facility like that? Do we just treat it as one facility and then just require the number of dumpsters that
Well,
the 300?
we don't require anything in terms of dumpsters. They tell us what they need, but we did talk with them about dumpsters. So they are providing dumpsters for both different hotels.
But they'll be in one place?
No, the 2 different ones, like 2 separate locations. Is that right, Travis? I know we worked on it.
In the same corner, but 2 different ones.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they're gonna double up on the dumpsters to make sure that they have adequate service.
Okay.
I guess it's gonna be in the front though, right?
Oh.
Or is it in the
Yeah.
back?
2 restaurants, they'll need it, they'll have plenty of trash.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Just a hotel, gym.
Yeah.
And
Mayor,
so-
sorry, quick
yeah.
question, I know just from traveling, typically these 2 brands will make one building. Was that a consideration here, or just from my knowledge, why does that happen sometimes with other developments?
They seem like they're similar hotels to me.
So, that wasn't presented here. They wanted to do the Homewood Suites first, and then come back and do the other one. So there will be some modifications to the site, because they're gonna put in some driveways and stuff that will be taken out during the second phase, but it won't impact them service-wise. But they will have to replat because they'll have to add some additional fire lanes and stuff. to
But
the
they're gonna
site.
have a period of time where one of the hotels is operational while they're building the one right next door?
Yeah.
Wow. I bet those rooms will go for a good price.
So with both of our hotel cases this evening, it's a variety of materials and colors, and so they're all asking for, the facades to be approved as they're shown. Because typically, we have like one main color that's like 90%, and then, an accent color and a trim color, which is like, 1% or 5%. But this is obviously, fits more with the prototypes. So they have they're all like neutral colors, so nothing crazy. But, you know, a variety of materials which we have no regulatory authority over. But obviously you can see the facades, you know, they've got stone, they've got EIFS, they've got some different colors that they're proposing. So,
They're showing us one thing, can they change the facade during construction process? Or what, if we approve what we see, that's what we're gonna get?
well, I would say that what we approve is what they should be building. Now, when it happened where the rules changed, there was some of that because we could no longer say,
Right.
hey, this, but we've,
That's why I'm asking, I mean, we're, you know, something that's neutral colors, that's, you know, blends in, and all that, and then all of a sudden it comes out fluorescent orange or something.
no, because we still have control over color,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
And their branding is color oriented too, to the outside of the buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already fought that battle with that.
Well, the way they mix it up makes it look less like just a big box.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, there are
personality.
some good articulations on the stuff.
Yeah. So, obviously there's some variances there that we just talked about. The next, the second to last case is, 297R, which is the corner of, 121, Sandy Lake and Royal Lane kind of intersects through there. So this was approved back in 2018, I believe. The concept plan had 2 hotels. Those were the only 2 things that we knew for sure were gonna be built. They came in with a concept plan for the whole thing, and then, a detailed site plan for the hotels. The rest of the site had a bunch of retail and a couple office buildings. That never happened. So the same hotel person has come back, in addition with Myers Crow, who came to, you know, they approached us and said, hey, you know, we would really like to build an office warehouse here on part of this. So what's before you this evening is going to be, it's multi, this one's a little bit more complicated because there's multi components to it. One is to approve a concept plan, which will show 2 hotels, an office warehouse, and then a future commercial building. Then there's a detailed site plan for the 2 hotels and the office warehouse. And, okay, am I losing anybody? Are we still okay? And then, because this is a freeway special district in our comp plan, typically the warehouse component, he's asking to rezone that part. So basically 9 acres out of the 16 back to light industrial. So this was done back in, I think a long time ago, where they did freeway special district. But the rest of that Sandy Lake to the east is all light industrial and industrial special district. So those 9 acres, they're asking to rezone back to industrial and industrial special district. So we'll still have some freeway special district with the hotels and the other commercial building, but the office warehouse, they want LI. And so where that really comes into play is obviously with the future land use map. We have to do an amendment to it. It also impacts part of the tree mitigation. So they will still be paying tree mitigation fees, but with light industrial, anything inside the footprint of the building, you don't have to pay the tree mitigation fees. So essentially there's about, it goes from, I think they're looking at paying $11,000 for the office warehouse, $24,000 for I think the hotel lots. I'm not
Those are the mitigation fees?
Mitigation fees. And then the other lot is like 42,000, I think, for the hotels.
Wow.
Yeah. So with the office warehouse, it's about $100,000 of waiver because of the light industrial. So this allows them to construct that building and do what they need to do. So there's 4 different phases. I'm gonna be really fast here. 4 different phases. The office warehouse first, one of the hotels second, the second hotel third, and then the commercial building whenever they find someone. But those 3 first uses already have people who are looking to build it.
Wow.
That's good.
Yeah.
Occupying.
So the office warehouse, if you had a chance to look at the rendering, it's a really pretty building. We work with them in terms of, you know, making it look not like a typical office warehouse building. They've added a lot more glass and articulation to it. The truck dock and the doors are on the east side of the building, facing the other industrial building, which is Amazon, by the way. We did talk to the prospective owners and said, hey, you know, Freeway Special District, you know, requires like a focal point. So they went out and hired essentially an artist, and they gave us a presentation of the art piece that they want to build. And so that's in the presentation as well. It'll have, it's kind of like a take on the word Sandy from Sandy Lake. So it's like a timepiece, like a
Hourglass.
hourglass, thank you. And then they'll have, so it'll be like a mirror polished stainless steel, and it'll be kind of propped up, and then it'll have a light in it that'll kind of emulate sand going through the hourglass. So it's kind of
Wow.
yeah.
These are the days of
This is probably one of the first of its kind, right?
your
In years, how
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple other art pieces, but this one looked pretty cool.
Are there any restrictions in terms of like the amount of glare that it causes being where it is? Or,
Yeah, I asked that question. I was like, so are they gonna blind like the people driving by?
right.
And he told me no, so I was like, okay.
What he said was, there was bands of that material, and they were angled in such a way that you wouldn't get a direct glare from it.
Okay.
Wow. Pretty elaborate piece of art.
Yeah, it was, they had a whole like 20-minute presentation and everything.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna be here tonight. if
yeah,
you
they
guys
may even
want.
be here tonight. Let's see. So with the hotels on this one, the big thing is one of the hotels is like 1 parking spot short. So they're asking for a variance for 1 parking spot.
Out of how many?
So like, they're supposed to have like 133 and they have 132. The other kind of item with this is previously with this development, they had approved 4 40-foot tall signs. With this one, they're proposing 1 40-foot tall, 800 square foot multi-tenant pylon sign. And so it would have like the hotels on it and potentially the other commercial things. So it's an off-premise sign, it's 40 feet tall, it would require a variance. The hotels are looking to have 1 monument sign with both their names on it. And then the office warehouse is proposing a monument sign on their property as well with their tenants, whether they have 1 or 2 tenants for that one.
Is the 40-foot sign because for visibility from 121?
Yeah.
What did we do for the other sign at, I thought it was like 35 feet. The one,
Down there at the corner of 635 and Beltline?
yeah,
No, that's
That
a,
little tower?
that's a smaller one actually,
I
isn't
don't think so. Point West? That's a 40-foot too, I
it?
think.
Is it really?
I'm pretty sure.
Just way out on that huge corner, it doesn't look as
It's-
prominent. you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And This one that they're proposing is really nice.
Yeah, I see it. That's
Yeah,
pretty
it
good.
did look nice.
Like it's fairly thin, but tall. Let's see. With this one, the landscape plan, you know, they'll meet the requirement. They didn't provide all the typical information though, in terms of what plant varieties and stuff they were gonna do. I think their landscape guy went out of town and wasn't available he went on vacation, so we're just requesting that he provide more detailed plans before we go to city council.
Okay.
So the last part of that item, like I said, is to change the future land use map. So essentially, half of the site, industrial special district. So that's one of the components. For all of my cases, we sent out letters. I didn't have any responses.
So this is the site that preserved the trees as part of the previous application?
Right, so they had several different retail sections, and then they had like the swath of the existing trees that they were gonna
So we're
preserve.
gonna wipe it all out?
With this one, yeah. Well, not all of it, but yeah, most of it.
And you were saying by rezoning to industrial, they don't have to pay the tree mitigation fees, is that right?
Well, what falls in the footprint, you are exempt from those fees. So there's a good chunk of trees up by 121 that they're saving, and there's some trees over on the eastern side that they're keeping. But then the rest of it either fall like within the parking lot, the drive aisles, the building itself.
Do you have any objection to the way they've designed it?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So we are requiring them to do like a POA, Property Owners Association, the two hotel sites, and then for the industrial site. And then the last item is the basically the companion plat for this one that we're just talking about, to create the 4 lots and all the necessary easements, fire lands.
What does it mean to create a POA? I've never heard us do that before.
Yeah, so there was a POA requirement on this site previously, and I think that was one of the issues with it. The owner either didn't want to or whatever, but at this point in time, they're looking to sell that property to these new developers. And so we've already talked to them about it. It's to just look at the maintenance of like easements or water lines, utilities.
Okay.
Yeah, where they cross property lines.
So do they, is it like an HOA where they
Yeah.
collect dues and those funds go into the maintenance fees and all like that?
Yeah, well, it really speaks to who's required to maintain it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, interesting.
I think we're like into our meeting now. But
And if we had discussed that before, I was paying attention, but I just
yeah, well, this was in 2018, so I'm not even
Yeah.
sure if you were on the board then.
You were there.
Yeah, I was there.
Were you there?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was paying attention, I just,
Well, it had the 2 hotels, but it had a retail component.
Right,
And
retail and
and it
office.
might have been called an HOA, because they're used synonymous. So.
yeah, I probably just didn't catch it, but, yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, so this
They were
was,
asking for the sign in the corner, so when you're on the
Right.
bridge, you could
Yeah.
see it.
yeah, they had 4 approved with this one, the previous one.
That one down to 1 this go around.
Yeah.
Now you'd be going by on 121, just look to the right and see it,
Mhm.
40 feet off the ground. But it's nice looking, and it's, all the material stuff, that's one of the big reliefs I've had is that after we lost all the ability, I mean, everything that's been built is still awfully compliant, very nice.
Yeah, we have a lot of, developers, they take pride in what they want to build. They want to build something quality, and so we've been lucky in that respect.
Those hotels down there at Point West, what is it, Point
Point West?
West? we tried to get a couple people in there on like a Wednesday night, they were packed. Every hotel on both sides of 635 were packed.
Oh, wow.
They're doing pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I got stuck in Houston in deposition. I was coming home late, and it was too late. I decided I was exhausted. I was going to pull over and try to get a hotel room. I felt like Joseph and Mary. I mean, there was no room at any place I went. And then finally, I found this place to do well. We've got one room, and I was like, "What is the deal? Is it like an Aggie game, or what's going on?" He goes, "No, it's Wednesday." I was like, "Are y'all really this busy?" I said, "This is like on my 6th hotel." He goes, "Oh yeah, this is I-45 guy. What do you, have you just moved here?" I was like, "Okay, leave me alone. Just give me the key." You know, it's like, "Where are you from?" You know.
Should have driven up north of Conroe. There would have been room.
I couldn't believe how crowded everything was.
Yeah.
And then up here too. That's why they keep building them, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so before we got there, anyone need a break? Couple minute break?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need a potty break.
Can you check with me when we're in there, if we need one in between some of these?
Oh, yeah,
Probably
Here's
will.
the name of the bakery.
So the time is 6:42, and we'll
Give me a bottle of water.
reconvene to regular session
Wow.
at about 6.
We want to be
Close to
careful.
6:50.
Thanks for sharing.
Good evening. The time is now 6:48, and we are reconvening into regular session. Apologize for the delay. Big caseload tonight. First order of business is to, item 4 on the agenda is the citizen's appearance. Is Cammie here? Where's Cammie? Oh, I better wait. Sorry. I want to get in trouble. Okay, item 4 on the agenda is citizens' appearance. If there's anyone who's here to speak on anything other than the cases on the agenda, there's a sign-up sheet. Did anybody sign up to speak on anything? Seeing none, okay, we'll move on to item 5. Consider approval of our September 16th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the meeting minutes. Are there any comments by the commission, or is there a motion by the commission?
I'll move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Walker for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Portman. Cammie, call the roll, please.
Blankenship, Guerra, Portman, Haas, Mauer, Walker, Bishop, all approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Can we vote on it?
Here.
She read our minds.
She's efficient.
Don't worry. Sorry.
Do you want to call the roll, Cammie? All right.
Those approve, Blankenship, Guerra, Portman, Haas, Mauer, Walker, Bishop, all approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Sure. Yes, agreed. Okay. Item 6 this evening. We're good. Item 6 this evening is a public hearing. This is to consider approval of PD-231R-H, 528 and 532 South Coppell Road. A zoning change request from Plan Development number 231 Historic to Plan Development number 231 Revised Historic, to consider change from Plan Development which was never constructed and allow the tracts to continue in their use as residential within the existing residential structures located on 3 tracts of land totaling 0.434 acres of land located at 528 and 532 South Coppell Road at the request of Gene Murph, Debbie Baum, and Russell Schneider, being represented by Deborah Edmondson. Staff presentation by Matt Steer. Matt?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. This property is located at the east side of South Coppell Road, approximately 150 feet north of McNear. The owners of 528 and 532 South Coppell Road wish to change the current zoning for the properties from PD 231-H, which calls for a proposed 2-story office building, a residence with shared parking, back to the existing conditions, which are 2 single-family residences. The northern property was previously owned by Carlos and Maria Orosa between 2006 and 2009. They were proposing to construct an office with shared parking behind their building and the residence to the south. However, the Rosas were never able to move forward with their approved plans and never filed the plat. In the interim, the property was sold to Charles Price, and then in May 2019, Ms. Baum purchased the northern property from him. She recently was unable to refinance the property because the current zoning on the property called for an office. Jean Murph owns the southern property, and she applied for the rezoning with Mrs. Baum. So staff recommends allowing the rezoning of the property to revert back to the existing conditions, and this will allow the existing development to exist as is, and if burned or destroyed somehow, it can be rebuilt in the existing configuration. However, this would not be allowed to be expanded. A redevelopment of the property beyond the boundary of the existing footprints would require a new PD zoning, and it would also require platting. Each lot will have a separate PD ordinance, which will alleviate the need for them to come in a joint plan development application for rezoning in the future. And here's a picture showing the existing conditions. We sent out 26 notices to surrounding property owners within 200 feet and 116 notices within, or courtesy notices within 800 feet. We received one phone call from a neighbor clarifying that it won't, that this rezoning won't affect his property. It wasn't part of the rezoning. I assured him that it wasn't, and he had no stance on whether he was in favor or opposed to the rezoning. Staff is recommending approval of the request, subject to the following PD condition, is to correct the deed information on the Gene Murph survey to reflect the current volume and page. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I've also got the applicant in the audience if you have any questions for her.
Very good. Thank you, Matt. Any questions by the commission of staff? Okay. Is the applicant here to make a presentation? If we could get your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Edmondson. I'm an attorney tonight representing Ms. Baum. Mr. Schneider unfortunately passed away recently from COVID-19. My address is 1730 Tuscan Ridge Circle, South Lake, Texas, 76092. I think that Mr. Steer pretty much covered really everything that's going on and the purpose why Ms. Baum is requesting the rezoning. And so that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions of the applicant by the commission? Tough
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak for or against the proposed application? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion by the commission? Is there a motion by the commission?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that the commission approve PD-231R-H, 528 and 532 South Coppell Road as submitted, subject to the one staff condition.
Very good. We have a motion by Commissioner Portman. Is there a second? Second, Commissioner Blankenship.
Second.
Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please say aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Commissioner Portman.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Very good. Thank you very much. Item 7 this evening is a public hearing to consider approval of the Avenue at Denton Tap Addition Lot, the Denton Tap Addition Lot 1 Block A replat, a portion being a replat of North Lake Estates to create one lot for the construction of a mixed-use development, number PD-270-RBN, and to plat the fire lane and easements associated with the development on 1.766 acres of land located by Bullock Drive to the west, Southwestern Boulevard to the south, and Denton Tap Road to the east, at the request of Denton Tap 881 Investment, being represented by Chris Howard of GeoNav. We have a staff presentation by Mr. Matt Steer. Matt?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is item number 7 this evening. It is your second public hearing, and this is to plat the property at the northeast corner of Southwestern and Bullock. February 2014, the property was rezoned to a planned development district allowing 29 mixed-use, 25 residential units in combination with 8,500 square feet of retail office use. The proposal also contained a detached community center for the overall development. And the property was sold in March 2020 from Vigazi LLC. the owner that obtained the zoning, to Denton Tap 881 LLC, the current owner. The new owner of the property wants to move forward with the project by submitting this replat, which is required before engineering review can be finalized. They're proposing to abandon a mutual access easement and alley right-of-way that was shown on the property. They're showing the existing easements, a 15-foot utility easement, a 10-foot general telephone easement, and a 10-foot sidewalk easement. They're dedicating a new fire lane mutual access easement and a fire lane drainage and utility easement traversing through the property, as well as a 15-foot utility easement. Other than some minor changes, minor drafting alterations and utility adjustments to the engineering plans, the plat is in conformance with the subdivision regulations and warrants approval with the conditions listed. 1, additional comments may be generated upon detailed engineering review. 2, accurately reflect the water and utility easements that are shown on the utility plans on the plat. 3, move the vault to an unpaved area with an easement. 4, shift the fire lane mutual access easement slightly to reflect what's depicted on the approved site plan. 5, ensure that calls C10 and C11 meet the fire lane turn radii requirement of 30 feet. 6, an additional fire hydrant may be required depending on the construction type and total square footage. And 7, change title block on preliminary engineering plans to reflect the correct project. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Matt. I remember back when this case first came through, it generated a lot of comment regarding that whole rezoning. Everything stands with the site as is. There were no changes other than the easements per this filing here.
Correct. Yes, everything is in conformance with the site plan that was approved.
And drainage was a big issue or a big discussion point. And in pre-session, we talked about it, and that will be addressed by the applicant for the site-generated drainage issues. And then I believe I heard that the city was going to be taking care of any drainage issues within the neighborhood to a certain degree. I see Matt nodding his head yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Any other questions of staff by the commission? Okay. Is the applicant here to present the case?
Good evening, everyone. This is Gurava Reddy Madana. I'm the owner of Denton Tap 881 LLC. And
if I could get your address for the record, please.
My address is 1031 Saddle Tree Trail, Irving, Texas, 75063. Whatever Matt presented, that's all pretty much it.
Yeah.
Unless you guys have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Any questions of the applicant by the commission?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak for or against the proposed application? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any final discussion by the commission? Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will move that the Avenue at Denton Tap, Lot 1, Block A, replat be approved as submitted, subject to the 7 staff conditions noted on the board.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Portman. Is there a second? Second, Commissioner Guerra. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please say aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Blankenship. Aye. Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Portman.
Aye.
Commissioner Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Item 8 on the agenda this evening is a public hearing. Thank you very much. To consider approval of PD-307-LI Maple Mart Expansion, Valley Ranch Center, Lot A-R1, Block 1, a zoning change request from Light Industrial Special Use Permit to Plan Development -307-Light Industrial, to approve a detailed site plan for a new convenience store building with restaurant, approximately 4,504 square feet, with additional fuel pumps on 0.919 acres of land located on the southeast corner of South MacArthur Boulevard and East Beltline Road, located at 1301 East Beltline Road at the request of Trinity Line Investments, and being represented by Mohammed Mazharal Islam of Civil Urban Associates. We have a staff presentation by Ms. Mary Perrone Boswell. Mary?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Mary Perrone Boswell here. I'd like to start out with a brief history of the property located at 1301 East Beltline Road, southeast corner of MacArthur and Beltline. The property was originally platted and developed in 1987. Several special use permits were approved, allowing for the development of a convenience store with fuel pumps and a car wash. This first image here is of the existing convenience store site, and here we have the existing car wash and the convenience store up against the canopy. The second image is the canopy and the fuel pumps. So this is what currently exists there today. This site is just under an acre in size and abuts developed property. The new convenience store is located in the southern portion is to be located in the southern portion of the site where a car wash currently exists, and that's identified in the blue. The existing car wash will be demolished to make room for the new store. The existing driveways will be modified to conform to today's standards. The existing canopy will remain, which is identified in yellow, and the columns will be clad in a stone veneer to match the proposed building exterior. The applicant has included PD conditions specifying that no outside storage, ice machines, vending machines, or sales of any kind are allowed outside of the building. The applicant is providing the required amount of parking, so 27 spaces on site, which does not include the spaces adjacent to the pumps. The landscape section of the ordinance allows for lots less than 2 acres in size to have 30% landscape area and allows for a hardscape to account for 5% of that calculation. This proposal meets those requirements. There's the sidewalk on the western portion of the building, the parking spaces in front of the building, and the sidewalk in front of parking spaces and the sidewalk in front of the building will be of stamped concrete, which accounts for the hardscape portion of the site. The applicant is providing 15 plus feet along street frontages of landscaping. The curvy linear parking area along the street frontage will have hedges planted to screen the headlights. Additional shrubs are proposed along MacArthur, East Beltline, and a portion of the southern and eastern perimeter. A total of 3 trees will be removed from the site, while 24 trees will be planted on site, including the upsizing of the cedar elm to 4-inch caliper. The landscaping requirement has been met, and there's an $1,800 in tree mitigation fees that will be paid with this project. There should be a material board being handed down to you guys to take a look. Staff has been working with the applicant and their architect for several months on this project. The building will be a tan Coronado stone with stone accents and metal canopy over the front door and sides of the building. At this time, there is no signage proposed for the building. If they decide to add signage, they will be required to adhere to city ordinance. The canopy will remain neutral gray metal. No signage is proposed on the gas canopy, but there will be signage on the gas pumps as shown in the elevations. The existing monument sign located at the northwest corner of East Beltline and MacArthur is proposed to remain. And here are just some renderings and perspectives of the site. So we did send out 4 notices within 200 feet and an additional 32 courtesy notices. We received no responses. Staff is recommending approval of PD 307-LI subject to the following conditions. 1, that additional engineering comments will be generated upon engineering plan review. 2, a tree removal permit is required prior to construction. 3, that this property shall be replatted prior to the issuance of any engineering or building permits. And 4, approval from the Valley Ranch POA is obtained for the redevelopment of this lot. That is the end of my presentation, and I know the applicant is here as well to answer any questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mary. Any questions of staff by the commission? Tim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is the replat that's part of condition 3?
Correct. So,
Okay.
so once the zoning will have to go through city council, and if that is approved, then they'll be allowed to file their plat. And they'll have to file their plat before they can get their engineering or building permits.
Okay. Thank you.
Ed?
Mary, 2 questions. Do we suspect there's any additional requirements related to the Valley Ranch POA?
No. So, as I said, we've been working with this applicant for several months. So with the initial submittal, they went before the board and had their plans approved. We worked with them some more because we wanted to refine some things. And so we asked them to go back just to present the updated plans to the POA. But they did initially approve the original plans.
Okay. And then the second question, as it relates to signage, what is the signage ordinance if they did, or what's the process in terms of adding signage?
They would just submit a sign permit to staff. It wouldn't have to come back before you at all.
Freddie?
Mary, one last question, I guess in regards to the restaurant that's going to be in the building. Any indication as to the type of restaurant or?
I will defer to the applicant.
Any concern there, Freddie? On the type of restaurant, like, are you thinking of high turnover, fast food, or
Yes.
traffic generation?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? Okay, is the applicant here and ready to go?
My name
Name and
is
address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is MD Muzar Islam. I'm the applicant and the owner, and I'm as well the engineer for this project also. My address is 513 Melody Lane, Richardson, Texas, 75081.
I think we had a question or two from the commission. Freddie?
So the question was related to the type of restaurant, and just out of curiosity, just, the amount of traffic that would be generated by that type of restaurant, but if you could provide some insight on what the restaurant's going to be and type of food
Indian
served.
style, right?
Hi, my name is MD Jahangir. I'm one of the owner of the property. Our first choice is Chipotle. We are working on the franchise right now. If Chipotle is not work out, we're gonna go for Subway, and if second choice, and after that, if Subway is not come over there, then you can choose as a most of them is to go, because we don't have enough parking. We're not gonna make two gathering for our business also, so we're gonna look at that also. Yeah.
I saw it all as walk-in. There's no plans for any drive-through?
No drive-through in there.
Because we don't have enough land to make a drive-through.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak for or against the proposed application? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any final discussion by the commission? Is there a motion by the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of PD 307 LI, the Maple Mart expansion, subject, of course, to the 4 staff conditions.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Walker. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Marr. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please say aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Vice Chair Portman.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer. Aye. Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop. Aye. All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Item 9 on the agenda is the companion case, the consider approval of Valley Ranch Center Edition Lot A-R1 Block 1 replat, a replat of Lot A Block 1 to allow for a new fire lane configuration and easements associated with the reconstruction of a convenience store building with a restaurant and additional fuel pumps on 0.919 acres of land located on the southeast corner of South MacArthur Boulevard and East Beltline Road, that being 1301 East Beltline Road, at the request of Trinity Line Investments and being represented by Muhammad Islam of Civil Urban Associates. We have staff presentation by Ms. Mary Pron Boswell.
Again, good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. This property was last platted in 1987 for the construction of the convenience store with fuel pumps and car wash. So this is a companion request to the item, the PD zoning that we just heard. This replat will show and identify the relocation of the fire lanes. So the blue will be abandoned, the red will be the new fire lane proposed. Addition of essential easements on site to support this development. So staff is recommending approval of Valley Ranch Center addition, subject to the following conditions. One, that there may be additional comments at the time of engineering and building permit, and two, the approval of the zoning from City Council.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Any questions of staff? Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add to the application? I'm looking at the applicants. I'm seeing their heads nod no. I'm saving you a trip unless you want to come up. Okay. Are you in agreement with the conditions as presented by staff? Seeing them nod yes. Okay, very good. This is a public hearing. Anybody like to speak for or against the proposed application? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any final discussion? Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the plat subject to the city conditions on item 9, Valley Ranch Center addition, lot AR-1, block 8.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Portman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Blankenship. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please say aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Portman.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
And Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Very good. Thank you very much. Item 10 on the agenda, consider approval of PD-221R9R3-HC, Homewood Suites and Hilton Garden Inn, a zoning change request from Plan Development Number 221, Revision Number 9, Revision 2, Highway Commercial, to Plan Development 221, Revision 9, Revision 3, Highway Commercial, to amend the plan development to attach a detailed site plan to allow for 2 hotels, a Homewood Suites Hotel and a Hilton Garden Inn on 5.49 acres of property located on the southeast corner of Point West Boulevard and Dividend Drive at the request of Dividend Hospitality Limited and Coppell Lodging Limited and Pegasus Hospitality Group, and being represented by Travis Bosque of the Bosque Group. Staff presentation by Ms. Boswell. Mary?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, item 10. This item was approved by City Council on October 9th, 2018, which allowed for 129-room suite, Homewood Suites Residence Hotel on 3.024 acres of property. The hotel was not constructed, but is part of this updated request, which includes more land and an additional hotel. So this new request incorporates a revised Homewood Suites Residence Hotel with 138 rooms and adds a second hotel, a Hilton Garden Inn, with 134 rooms onto the entire 5.49 acre southeast corner of Point West and Dividend. The hotels will be constructed in 2 phases, with the Homewood Suites built in Phase 1 and the Hilton Garden Inn in Phase 2. A sidewalk will be extended along Point West and Dividend Drive. Several PD conditions are being requested with this application, including 1, exceeding the acreage density requirement for residence hotels, 2, a reduction in the required parking, a reduced landscape setback for a portion of this site, to allow a shared loading zone for the 2 hotels, and to allow for more than 50% of parking in the front yard. So the Homewood Suites will have a limited service restaurant, whereas the Hilton Garden Inn will have a full service restaurant serving breakfast and dinner. As noted, the Homewood Suites is asking for an exception to the density requirement. It's staff's understanding that the purpose of the retention of this density condition in the most recent revision to the hotel ordinance was to ensure sufficient land to provide parking for traditional multifamily development if this no longer functioned as a hotel. The applicant, hotel owner operator submitted data on general guest profiles from their similar property and trophy club and detailed information about the Homewood Suites brand to support their requested variance with the original application. Given the location, surrounding zoning, and development patterns augmented by the operational functions of this flag, it is improbable that this conversion to apartments would occur, and without additional parking, it would not be viable. Council previously approved this requested exception in 2018 for Homewood Suites with 129 rooms. The second hotel proposed for the site is a Hilton Garden Inn, which is to be constructed with Phase 2 of this project, which will most likely require a replat to amend the fire lane configuration with the additional hotel. This hotel either meets or exceeds the requirements for a hotel except for the parking. The required parking for both hotels combined is 272 spaces for the hotel rooms, an additional 26 spaces for conference room spaces, restaurant, for a total of 298 required. They are proposing to provide a total of 283 parking spaces, 185 in Phase 1, and additional 98 parking spaces in Phase 2, for a deficit of 15 spaces per ordinance requirements, or approximately 5%. The proximity to the airport, the people's use of rideshare transportation is one reason they are asking for the reduction. In addition, they will have, I believe, one if not two shuttle vans to transport guests to and from the airport. The landscape plan excuse me, generally meets the requirements of the landscape ordinance, with approximately 30% of the site being devoted to landscape areas. Overall, they will be planting 110 trees on site, surpassing the 82 required. The overstory trees will be a combination of Chinese pistache, Shumard oak, Mexican white oak, and 4-inch caliper lacebark elm. The applicant is asking for an exception to the HC district requirement that parking be 20 feet from street frontages, which results in a 20-foot landscape buffer along the street frontage. This development averages about 16 feet at the street frontage and is in line with the adjacent True Hotel development to the south. There is one smaller portion of the site to be constructed in Phase 2 that will be approximately 12 feet in depth, allowing for 16 additional parking spaces to be constructed along Dividend Drive. The applicant is exceeding the minimum requirements in outdoor patio areas devoted to guests. The Homewood Suites is proposed to have approximately 2,765 square feet of outdoor plaza area, and the Hilton Garden Inn 2,000 square feet, compared to the 1,000 square feet required by ordinance. So the elevations for the Homewood Suites, if you'd like, there is a sample board. It's fairly large if you'd like to look at it. But essentially, the elevations for the Homewood Suites prototype is a mixture of masonry, ephes, resin panels. The Jacob stone is a cut stone proposed to be used, which is tan in nature with darker accents. This stone will be the predominant material used on the first floor of the building. It will also be used in other vertical articulations on the building. The ephes proposed will be in two tones and alternating pattern on the vertical articulation of the building. Marshland oak colored resin panels will frame the center portion of the building where the entrance is located, and carbon gray colored resin panels will outline the center portion of the building. The resin panels will also be used at one end of the building. Overall, the materials on the building will be alternating along the facades. Precast stone lintels will be placed over the windows areas in the first floor area with the cut stone facade, and pre-weathered galvalume coping will line the top of the building. The Hilton Garden Inn building will be a combination of masonry, ephes, and cement panels. Jacob stone is the cut stone proposed to be used, which is tan in nature with darker accents and is the same as the one used for the Homewood Suites. This stone will be the predominant material used on the first floor of the building. It will also be used in the center vertical articulation of the building. The ephes proposed will be a sand texture in 2 tones, and they will be using an alternating pattern in vertical articulation of the building. Barrique oak colored resin panel will frame the various portions of the building, including a portion of the entrance. Overall, the materials of the building will be alternating along the facades. Pre-weathered galvalume coping will line the top of the building. The HC district calls for there to be one base color, an alternate color up to 5%, and an accent color up to 1% for all exterior wall surfaces. Both buildings are requesting to be approved as presented, allowing for multiple materials, complementing colors as observed by the brand prototypes, which exceed the base, alternate, and accent color ratios of the HC district. Staff is in favor of this request. A sign package was not presented for staff to review, and no data for signage for the building was provided, other than being referenced that the building is on the building as an illustration. Staff would require that all signage conform to the ordinance requirements. So we did send out letters, 4 within 200 feet, an additional 2 courtesy within 800 feet, and we received no responses. Staff is recommending approval of PD 221 R9 R3 HC, Homewood Suites and Hilton Garden Inn, subject to the following conditions. 1, additional comments will be generated at the time of detailed engineering review and building permit review. 2, the property will need to be platted to provide necessary easements. 3, to allow an exception for more than 50% parking in the front yard. 4, to allow for elevations as depicted. And 5, to allow an exception to the 22 rooms per acre as depicted. 6, to allow for a shared loading area. 7, to allow for parking area to be within 20 feet from the property line along Point West and Dividend as presented. Require that signs be compliant with provisions of the sign ordinance. And 9, to allow the reduction of 15 parking spaces as presented, provided a shuttle service is offered by the hotel. That is the end of my presentation. Available for questions, and the applicant representative is also here.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mary. Quick question for you regarding the color scheme. I think it all looks great. What would be the process if, over time, they want to freshen up the colors and things like that, the facade? Is there a process that has to come through the city? Would it come through P&Z, or would it be administrative? How would that occur?
I think it depended on what they wanted to do. If they just wanted to, kind of restore what's already there, they could probably just talk to us, but there's no real permit for that. If they wanted to change something drastically, I think they would have to talk to us and make sure that it's still complied. Or if staff felt that it was something very drastic, I think we would take it back to the P&Z.
Okay. Any concern during construction between phase 1 and phase 2? Okay. Any questions of staff? I see Jim there.
I just had one. So with respect to the condition number 9, providing a shuttle service offered by the hotel, are there any parameters with respect to hours that it must be offered, anything like that, or is it just presumed that, days of the week, anything like that?
No, and Travis, you might want to speak to that, but and tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking the shuttle is always there, and they would more than likely, at least the times I've used it, you go and kind of tell them, okay, I need to go to the airport at this time, and they make sure that there's something available.
Okay, so it'll be generally available.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's my understanding they have 2 shuttles, so.
Ed?
Mary, also a question on number 9. So as it relates to how much of an issue it is to not have those 15 parking spaces, do we know if or have any sort of validation if the surrounding hotels at peak time have essentially, maybe are overparked or ample parking spaces that would, get us comfortable with the missing parking spaces won't be an issue?
Right, so this 15 parking deficit really comes into play with Phase 2, because with Phase 1, they're actually overparked. With Phase 2 is, with the other hotel and the restaurant is where it kind of gets a little bit, is when it applies. I've asked the applicant to provide me some information, and I'll let Travis speak to it, but essentially it was, ride shares, and the use of the shuttle, but I'll let him speak to, what is their kind of vacancy rate or any other things that may affect that parking count.
So, kind of on number 9, what would the protocol be if parking did become an issue? I mean, the site is built, the fixed parking is provided. I mean, would it then be a requirement that the applicant develop a shared parking agreement with an adjacent property, or?
Right, so there would be that, that would definitely be an option.
I guess
So
what
that's why we're
recourse do we
talking about
have
it
as
now.
a city? What recourse do we have?
Well, basically, we're saying at this point that, based on the trending kind of thing with rideshare and where we're located in the Metroplex, that people either A, may not rent cars to drive, may use, one of the rideshare programs, and, use a shuttle service. And then part of that parking analysis was based on, the restaurant use portion of it. The other option that they have is either to, reduce either some of their areas, their commercial areas, or they would have to drop room counts to meet the parking requirement if you were not comfortable with that request.
It's kind of a hypothetical. I agree that with the mobility options that are out there and those kinds of things, that it's tending to kind of go down, but what if, right? Any other questions of staff by the Sue?
My question doesn't have to do with number 9, but mine's kind of a twofold question. Is there, I know they're platting 2 buildings on 1 lot, but is there a building separation requirement? And then the second part of that is because if in the future they decide to replat it, split the buildings and sell off, or split the buildings to different ownerships and replat these into 2 lots, would it comply with a setback requirement at that point? Because these buildings are fairly close together.
Right, so we did discuss that with them. And my recollection was that, obviously the building official would look at the building separation requirement, and she seemed fine with that. In terms of separating the lots, at this point in time, they would not meet the requirements in terms of setbacks.
So they would not be able to replat the 2 different buildings?
Not without some kind of variance.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Okay. Is the applicant ready? If we can get your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, fellow commissioners. My name is Travis Bousquet, 5104 Connors Road in Flower Mound. I am with the Bousquet Group and have had the benefit of working with these hotel owners for several projects around DFW through the years. So, I know their product. I'm an engineer, so I will caution if we get into too deep of architectural questions, I may have to stumble my way through that part of it, but definitely appreciate your time. Staff did an amazing job going over everything. I heard a lot of the questions that were being asked, and so I may just touch just briefly on the PD exceptions or variances we're talking about. I guess one of them was the 50% parking maximum, in the front yard. I won't spend a lot of time on that, but just because of a hotel configuration and how that distributes the parking kind of controls some of that requirement. Plus, we have an irregular lot with, a lot of curves on it, so it kind of forced our hand as far as what a effective layout would look like. The color boards, I just wanted to note that we did work with staff quite a bit, especially on the Hilton Garden Inn. We went against a lot of our standard prototype colors for Hilton Garden. We had a lot of bright yellows and some other fancy colors that Mary did a good job in vetoing and getting us into more of the earth tone. That would be, I think at the end of the day, it looks nice, as far as it matching the True right next door and also the convention center. The exceeding the 22 rooms per acre, we're essentially asking for the same thing that we got approved through this commission and council back in 2018 on that part. With, we've added a hotel as we've made it a bigger project than what we had before. The single unloading zone, we don't really have any documented reason why on this. I could just tell you that the way our hotel is used, we don't have a unloading zone on the True. I'm not sure what happened, when we went through on that, but most of the time our delivery trucks, we get maybe one a week, and they're dropping them, they drop it right underneath the porte-cochere and, ring the bell, and then they're off. So we're just asking commission and council to kind of look at that as a possibility of having a shared unloading zone. The parking reduction, as Mary mentioned, we have 298 required parking spaces, and that takes into account all the rooms and the commercial use within the hotels, and we're providing 283, 5% reduction. And what's already been mentioned too is just the number of Lyft and Ubers and shuttle is just really changing the dynamics of the parking requirements for our use and probably some other uses out there too. I'm not sure who else has been affected, but I know the hotel industry definitely has. We tried to coordinate with some traffic consultant friends in the industry. They didn't have any specific studies that could kind of give us numerical data, Commissioner Maurer, that would prove why we're asking for this. I think it's an endeavor that could be done somehow. I think it's more of an inventory as guests are checking in, almost doing a poll or something like that might be a way to kind of figure that out. But we couldn't figure out a way to really put a numerical value on it. It's more of a general feel. Seeing our parking lot is maybe 60 to 70% when we're at a peak. So that's why we at least felt confident that with asking for a 5% reduction that, it's not going to impact our business and it's not going to bring us back to you guys to ask for a change because, we don't want people, we want people to be able to park at our place. So we definitely didn't want to come in with a huge ask, and I think that's why we worked with staff and, getting some additional parking spaces up there off of Dividend. And those additional parks was one of the other reasons why we asked for a variance on the landscape setback. When we did the True, we only had a 15-foot landscape setback on that one along, I might have my streets mixed up. Is that Point West on the west side? Yeah, and then Dividend up top. Yeah. So on Point West, we had 15-foot setback on the True. And when we came in with Homewood Suites, we only had a 15-foot when we got this approved before. So we've made it a little bit bigger now. But when we get up on Dividend, we've got, it gets to be about 12 feet where we added those extra parking spaces. I think I might have touched on some of the questions that will be asked, but I want to make myself available to commission.
Thank you. With regards to number 9, what is your what's the experienced occupancy rate? Are you in the 70s, in the 90s? What is experienced by these flags?
And I probably can't answer that for sure just from not knowing their business as much. I know that when COVID happened, obviously it's been a lot less, until, recently, within the last 6 months, there's been a big uptick, and that's probably why I heard one of the other commissioners talking about having trouble finding a hotel off of 45. That's probably what's caused that, is the uptick now. I would venture they're probably in that 70% range would be a good number.
I guess with your adjacent site, would ownership look for some kind of shared agreement in the event that there becomes an issue with parking? Or is it cutting back on the restaurant? Or what would be, internally to y'all, what would be the process to address parking if it became an issue?
Are you talking about the partnership with the True, or are you talking about the second hotel?
Right, adjacent sites. You said you did True next door?
Right, we do.
Yeah,
we do have the True next door as well. I didn't look at the parking on that one to see how many's there, but that's a good question. There may be some extra there. I would imagine we probably met code, though, if knowing us in design, we probably met the code on that.
And then you mentioned that you didn't use your standard color scheme, your prototype color scheme. You went with the more earth tones. Thank you for that. But what if the brand wants to change their color scheme? I had asked staff earlier, what's the process? But what would the process be on y'all's side? Is it a matter of presenting color board and materials to staff, or how would that work?
So for the colors we have today, we had to get Hilton's approval on anything that we were presenting. So they're aware of the project. They are expecting this is what it's going to happen.
Okay.
If something like that does happen, that they said, hey, we really got to have this in Coppell, we would have to approach staff, and I'm assuming, like what Mary's saying, if it's something drastic, if it's just a light brown to a little darker brown, something not so, I imagine we could probably get that approved with staff's approval. But, if anything major, we would bring it back to this board, I'm assuming.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant by the commission? Okay, thank you much.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody who would like to speak for or against the proposed application? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any final discussion by the commission? Is there a motion by the commission?
Make a motion for the approval of item number 10, PD 221 R9 R3 HC Homewood Suites and Hilton Garden, subject to the 9 conditions per staff.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Guerra. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Moore. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please say aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Portman.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker. Commissioner Bishop. All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Very good. Thank you very much. Item 11 on the agenda tonight is consider approval of PD-297R-HC Coppell Whitestone, a zoning change request from Plan Development Number 297 Highway Commercial to Plan Development 297 Revised Highway Commercial and Light Industrial to establish a new concept site plan for hotels, an office/warehouse, and a commercial building on 16.58 acres of property, and a detailed site plan for 2 hotels, those being Homewood Suites and a Marriott Element, on approximately 6.01 acres of land, and a detailed site plan for an office/warehouse building on 9.01 acres of land, and an amendment to the 2030 Comprehensive Master Plan from Freeway Special District to Industrial Special District for the 9.01 acre portion located on the northeast corner of Sandy Lake Road and State Highway 121 at the request of the property owner, Ferguson Realty, and being represented by Dave Littleton of Half Associates. We have the staff presentation by Ms. Perone Boswell. Mary?
Item 11. So this item does have multiple parts to it. One is to establish a new concept plan, a detailed site plan for 2 hotels, a detailed site plan for an office warehouse building on 9 acres of land and an amendment to the future land use map. So just to give you kind of a brief history, the existing PD on this property, which is illustrated on the left here. So a concept plan for hotels, office, and retail uses was approved in 2018, along with a detailed site plan for 2 hotels on 6 acres along the eastern portion of the site. No specific retail or office uses or users were identified for the remaining 10-plus acres of the site. This plan was not acted upon and was never platted. So essentially, the 2 hotels identified in brown and with the red box around it were the only 2 items that had a detailed site plan associated with it. So the proposed PD before you this evening is the one on the right-hand side. This is a concept plan for 2 hotels, an office warehouse use, a flex commercial building for an office or retail on 16.57 acres of property. So the items outlined in red are items where we do have a proposed applicant to construct these buildings. So part 2 is a detailed site plan for the 2 hotels on approximately 6 acres and a detailed site plan for an office warehouse building on approximately 9 acres. The third part is also associated with the office warehouse component, which requires a change to the future land use map from freeway special district to industrial special district. So in terms of phases of development, again, this property is located at the corner of Sandy Lake Road and State Highway 121. The purpose of the concept plan is to establish the preliminary layout or uses and circulation patterns to support the different phases of the development. So phase 1, there's an office warehouse proposed for the first phase to be constructed on the eastern portion of the site, adjacent to another light industrial office warehouse property that Amazon currently occupies. The 2 hotels previously proposed to be located on the eastern portion of the site will now be located on the western corner and the center portion of the site and are phases 2 and phases 3. The 4th lot, located on the northern point of the site, is a future phase for future commercial building, zoned HC with no tenant, and there's no tenant currently proposed for this lot. So phase 1, again, this is an office warehouse, approximately a 130,000 square foot building. It'll be 40 feet tall. There are dock doors located on the eastern portion of the building, and a 10-foot height screening wing wall will be constructed on both ends of the truck court area on the east side. This is a speculative building, and the developers indicated that it would most likely be used for 1 to 2 tenants. The north, south, and western sides of the building have car parking spaces adjacent to them. The site is providing 205 parking spaces, where 146 are required by ordinance, thereby providing more flexibility for the use of this building. There's no outside storage proposed for this site, and a focal point sculpture is to be constructed with this phase. The existing street at the intersection of Sandy Lake Road and Royal Lane will be modified to accommodate a new lane and will include a new traffic signal pole for the southbound direction and pedestrian signals for all legs. Phase 2 is a Home 2 Suites. This is a proposed 126-room hotel. This was previously approved with the original PD, but was located on the eastern portion of the site. The new proposal has the hotel located in the central portion of the site with an entrance from 121 and Sandy Lake Road. This hotel does meet the minimum requirements of the hotel ordinance. Phase 3, the original PD had a second hotel as well, located on the eastern portion of the site. This was originally a La Quinta brand hotel. This current proposal has a 5-story Marriott Element Hotel instead, and is proposed to be located at the corner of State Highway 121 and Sandy Lake Road. This proposed 125-room hotel meets all the requirements of the hotel ordinance. However, the applicant is seeking a small exception to the parking requirement. They are providing 132 parking spaces where 133 spaces are required. And Phase 4 is a future commercial building approximately 9,600 square feet in size and would contain approximately 53 parking spaces conceptually. Included in the concept plan is a request for one 40-foot tall, 800 square foot multi-tenant pylon sign, proposed to be illuminated from below by ground-mounted lights. The sign will have four areas for signage, one for each of the 4 lots. The sign is proposed to be located on the State Highway 121 frontage on the hotel lot. So the previous PD had 3 40-foot, 1,040 square foot signs approved. There is a 60 square foot monument sign proposed that will have both hotel names on it and will be illuminated from below by ground mounted lights. This sign is proposed to be located at the State Highway 121 frontage at the common driveway between the hotels. The office warehouse building is also proposing a monument sign that is 60 square feet in size and have room for the possibility of 2 tenant names, and that's on your lower right-hand side of the illustration. This sign will be placed along the Sandy Lake Road in front of the industrial lot, Lot 1. Signage for the office warehouse will be in the form of a monument sign out front, and if granted, a space on the off-premise 40-foot sign, as well as building signage. So this is the an office warehouse building. This will be made of a concrete tilt wall with a form liner and reveals. This is a much nicer picture of it. This is the rendering of the office warehouse building. It will consist of 2 main colors used on the facade and 1 trim color, and it will be neutral in color. The north, south, and western elevations will be a combination of the concrete tilt wall and aluminum and glass storefront system. Staff has worked with the architect to produce an attractive building and have the truck dock and on the east side away from the hotels. As outlined in the Freeway Special District section of the comp plan, a focal point will be provided at the main entry, the north-south driveway at Royal Lane and Sandy Lake Road. The developer is proposing to provide this art piece that will be approximately 9 feet in height and placed on a raised platform. This piece will be constructed of mirror-polished stainless steel rolled in the shape of an hourglass with an internal gold light piece that will act as sand trickling down the hourglass. The Home 2 suites. The first floor will have a brick facade with a light gray blend. The remaining floors will be constructed mainly of ephes with neutral colors for the facade and trims. There's a vertical element that spans the height of the structure that will be a dark clove color with the signature lime green stripe as illustrated in the elevations. A note is on the plans to have signage conform to city standards. They are requesting, or the plans do show a laminated translucent enclosure lighted from within be allowed on the roof over the hotel sign. So this is a rendering of the second hotel, the Element Hotel. The rendering is probably slightly different from what they are proposing. The image on the left has that kind of gap at the top. There won't be a gap or a tunnel on that portion, is what I've been told. The Element Hotel is a combination of ephes and stonewood panels. The ephes colors proposed are neutral and the same as those used for the Home 2 suites. The stonewood panels are colored Madison walnut and white aluminum. The front entrance vertical articulation will consist of the white aluminum panels, and the Madison walnut panels will form other vertical articulation portions on the other elevations. The attached signage will need to be in compliance with the sign ordinance as noted on the elevation and PD conditions. In terms of landscaping plans provided show that all 3 sites meet the minimum requirements. However, the details for the exact type of trees and plant materials to be used have not been provided. The landscape designer was unavailable to provide this prior to the resubmission deadline. Staff has spoken to them, and a PD condition is in place that landscaping details will need to be provided to staff prior to going to City Council. While the previous PD had a variance to provide a 20-foot landscape buffer along Sandy Lake and 121, this proposal will provide a 30-foot landscape buffer in these areas and a wider area at the 121 Sandy Lake Road intersection. At the main entrance along Sandy Lake Road, a landscape median is proposed. Some trees along the perimeter of the site, both State Highway 121 and the eastern boundary, have existing trees that have been saved. In terms of tree mitigation, lots 2 and 3, the hotel lots, have some existing trees proposed to be saved along State Highway 121. The tree mitigation fees for this site total approximately $42,500. The majority of trees were located in the building footprint and parking areas. For Lot 4, future building, it's the same story, with the existing trees along State Highway 121 being saved and others being mitigated in the amount of approximately $25,800. Staff will re-verify the amounts at time of permitting. For Lot 1, the office warehouse lot, they are preserving a few trees along the eastern perimeter, but the other trees internal to the site will be removed to allow for the building and associated parking. The tree mitigation for this site is approximately $11,400. This is assuming that the LI zoning is granted, which allows for trees that fall within the footprint to be exempt from tree mitigation. If the zoning were not granted, then the tree mitigation fees for this site would be approximately $113,000. As mentioned in the history section of this report, this property was part of a city-initiated effort 18 years ago to establish highway commercial HC zoning along the freeway frontages to enhance development standards, ensuring that limited freeway frontage and entry portals in the city of Coppell are of the highest quality and development envisioned. So it's part of the Freeway Special District. The request before you this evening is to leave approximately half of the property HC and rezone approximately half of the property back to light industrial, which it was previously. The proposed request will provide the 130,000 square foot office building adjacent to the other office warehouse buildings that line the north side of Sandy Lake Road, which are also light industrial. The proposed developer has provided enhancements to the building in the form of glazing, articulations. Staff is not opposed to the land use designation for this 9-acre portion be amended back to industrial special district. We did send out letters within 200 feet and an additional courtesy notices within 800 feet, and we received no responses. Staff is recommending approval of PD 297R-HC Whitestone, subject to the following conditions. Concept plan conditions. A detailed site plan be in compliance with the concept plan and city ordinance can be administratively approved by the Director of Community Development for Lot 4. B, approve the land use amendment for the 9 acres to industrial special district. 2, for the detailed site plans. A, that the property will be platted into 4 lots and create the building sites, easements, fire lanes prior to any building permits being issued. B, that there be a coherent architectural theme and consistent sign package for attached signs for lots 2 and 3. C, that there be a coherent architectural theme and consistent sign package for signs for lots 1 and 4. D, that the Royal Lane Sandy Lake Road intersection improvements shall be included in the Lot 1 and Lot 4 infrastructure plans and constructed by the owner-developer prior to or concurrent with the issuance of a building permit for the first building. E, that the existing signal at the intersection of Sandy Lake Road shall be modified to accommodate the new southbound leg. This will include a new traffic signal pole for the southbound direction and pedestrian signals for all legs. F, that the final northbound Royal Lane configuration, subject to current TIA requirements and any other TIA requirements. G, provide for 1 40-foot tall sign on Lot 2 as shown and provide for off-premise signage on the 4 lots as shown. H, building elevations for each lot to be approved as presented. I, revised landscape plans shall be provided to staff prior to City Council. An irrigation plan shall be submitted during the permit process. J, site lighting shall meet City of Coppell requirements. K, that a POA is required for the 2 hotel sites and a separate POA required for the commercial and industrial site. These POAs must be reviewed by the city and be in place prior to filing the plat. L, to allow for 1 parking space deficit for the Element Hotel, and M, to allow for more than 50% parking in the front yard as shown. That is the end of my presentation, and the applicant representatives are also here.
All righty, very good. Thank you, Mary.
That was a long one.
Yes. Couple of quick questions for you. With regards to the sign,
Yeah,
the height of this proposed sign is the same as the height of the previous sign?
correct. Previously, they were granted, I think it was like 3 or 4 signs, and this request, there's 1 sign being requested.
Okay, I think you got the landscaping. Okay, that's all I have. Any of the questions of staff by the commission?
Just my question just related to generally, where are the signs to be located and where will the art piece be located?
Sure. Let's see.
Whatever map you think would be best to.
Yeah. Like one of the first ones. Okay. You see my mouse on the screen? Okay, so this is the industrial lot.
Yes, ma'am.
So right here is where the art piece is proposed to go. And then there's...
So at the main entryway where there's going to be the landscape medium?
correct. So just on lot 1, I don't know, can you see my mouse?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So just east of the main entry into that.
And that's the art piece?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
And then, trying to find the one with the best. There's a monument sign here.
Okay,
Proposed.
that's the smaller one for the hotel?
Is that the big one? Okay, that's the big one.
Oh, okay.
They know,
okay.
they're telling me. And I think that the smaller monument sign is just south, right here, I believe.
Okay,
And then the other sign will be on the, out front here, I believe,
for the
for the industrial building.
industrial. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you, Mary.
so they'll have like 2 smaller 6-foot signs and then 1 40-foot sign, which will be on the 121 side.
Mary, point to that again, please. The big one?
The big one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not shown on all the,
There it is.
right here.
So that's oriented toward
Oh, wait, no,
121 for that
proposed.
purpose.
Oh, yeah, that's the Homewood Suites. Right, so that's the 40-foot one. I'm not sure if it's oriented correctly on the drawing. It's not. But essentially in this location.
And then the only other question I had was with respect to the Phase 4, will the parking go ahead, will that be constructed and paved out anyways, even though that building won't be constructed, or will the construction of the parking will wait for that? So what will be there in the interim?
It'll just be grass, just natural.
Undeveloped field? Okay. Thank you, Mary.
Mary, can you go back to the staff conditions?
Sure.
So one minor question, should it be PD 297R-HC-LI?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And then if you want to flip to the next page. Regarding the 2 POAs, why do you need 2 POAs for the 4 lots? Why couldn't it be 1 POA?
So this, it's the way their utilities and everything are going to be done. So the hotel lots are going to be sharing some. The industrial lot is not going to be part of that, I don't think. I could be wrong, but I think that's the way we're thinking. So that's why there's going to be 2 separate ones, so that they're not all intertwined. Just the ones that are impacted will be together.
Okay.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, is the applicant here to present the case? Thanks for waiting.
No worries. Thank you. Dave Littleton with Half Associates, address 1201 North Bowser Road, Richardson, Texas. I'm here to answer your questions. We also have the developers for the hotel sites and the office warehouse sites.
Very good. I have a few questions. So before it was retail and hotel. What was the basic impetus to go from retail to industrial?
I would say different developers.
Just
a better use for the property.
Because I kind of, with this being a gateway, I'm kind of thinking the other way would be, I mean, it's an attractive building.
Right.
I like it, but just thinking about the retail component versus an industrial. Yeah, come on down. And if I could get your name for the...
Richard Crow, 3811 Turtle Creek Boulevard, Dallas, Texas. So the history of this property, if you want a little more history of this. So it's currently owned by Ferguson Realty. So Mr. Ferguson bought this land right after the airport was built to build the Ferguson steamroller plant. And he had a steamroller plant on Harry Hines near where Parkland is that's now, there's no more, he's not making steamrollers anymore. Mr. Ferguson has passed away. So back 18 years ago, and he never did build his plant, obviously, on this site, or a steamroller plant. So 18 years ago when Marcy was here, the city wanted to go in and adjust the zoning to HC along State Highway 121. So Mr. Ferguson asked us, since we were building in the area, to come help them with what do we do, how does this work? So we helped them work with Marcy, ended up developing the building where Amazon is now. It used to be Kimberly-Clark, 600,000 feet, that's right there next to this site. So we've been involved with the site for 18 years plus now. And so we've looked at every kind of development option on this remaining 16 acres, from industrial to service center to hotel to retail. And we've been promoting and marketing and been involved with the family for that long. And the problem with retail is you're kind of what we call the barbell. So you have all the retail up in Louisville, and then you have the retail down at Grapevine Mills Mall. This is kind of in between. So we never could get any traction with retail because we know that would be, we thought, well, that could be a good use right at Sandy Lake 121. But it never got traction. We could never get any developers interested in doing retail. So fast forward to, I guess, 2 years ago, and DK came in, and we were working with the Ferguson family, and he said, hey, I'm going to do hotels. Well, the Fergusons didn't want to sell. He only wanted to buy 6 acres, but Vic Munson, representing the Ferguson family, says, we're not going to sell just 6 acres. You have to buy all 16 acres. So DK said, okay, but I only do hotels. So I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of this land. And so he drew a concept plan just to have something drawn, but it was never, it was never a detailed site plan. It was just, here's something to do. And he hired, I believe, CBRE to market it for several years to retail customers. Well, CBRE couldn't find any retail, just like we couldn't find any for the previous 16 years. So COVID hit, and DK couldn't build his hotels. So he had to drop the site. Well, then we came back in and said, okay, really, what will work here is if we have right next to Amazon, which is a huge bulk industrial building, we do kind of a transition. We transition with a smaller, light industrial, nicer looking building that we've designed to look like our two-story office buildings we look like. When you look at it, it looks like an office building. And transition into then the hotels on the frontage. So it really is a blend of, going from the big bulk to the light industrial, smaller building to the hotels. And then we have proposed a little office building up on the north part of the site. So that's the history. The history of retail is that nobody would talk to us about retail, unfortunately. So we think this is a great fit for, and really these smaller warehouses are kind of the new retail. It's the last mile, they call it, and that's really the new retail, although it generates less traffic. So kind of pluses and
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, it was a long story.
Perspective. No, it's good. So in this transition, in the transition industrial, what kind of use is in there?
In the building we're proposing, light industrial.
But is there a lot of shipping associated with that, or what's?
No, I mean this is totally spec. I mean we're going to hopefully hopefully build it and they will come. So we don't know yet what it will be, but it truly will be light industrial. I mean we're not building, next door we actually did that building. We put in 200-foot truck courts, massive, lots of trucking, lots of trailer storage. We have 0 trailer storage on this. We only have 30+ dock doors on this. So it's really not, it can't be, it just won't function as a heavy industrial building. Another thing we did is we way over parked it because we're hoping we get in there and we have somebody who needs, higher finish, more tech, more whatever it could be. That's really the direction. And the location and the kind of rents we need based on the cost of construction, the cost of the land, we're going to have that higher end company in there because it just can't be a.
Thanks for sharing that. I was envisioning, Amazon next door, another distribution, a lot of trucks. Where would they be coming in? That kind of stuff. So thanks for sharing that too. Great piece of artwork there proposed. And I had to do another look because there's a high power transmission line, and so I guess it's on the other side of the drive.
In front of that.
Yeah.
So Mary Matt asked us to do an art focal point, and we did one version. They said that's not what we're going to do. So we brought in a sculptor, Brad Oldham, and Brad Oldham because we're going to do some stone columns and that. I guess it wasn't really art. But so Brad Oldham has done. If you look up Brad Oldham. Oldham. He is a remarkable artist, and he has done some incredible work around the city in some of the nicest buildings, downtown, uptown. He's done work in multiple states. So we've not done art before the building. So we had, Trammell Crow had done a huge development down in uptown, and he did a beautiful piece called The Twist, and it's this massive stainless steel thing twisted, and it's just gorgeous. And so I had asked my friend at Crow, I said, who'd you use? And he sent me over Brad's information. So they've done a remarkable job. They did a really neat presentation at the DRC meeting, and we offered if they wanted to come, but I know time is limited, so they didn't come and do it. But what they did is they researched, if you look at the full presentation there, they researched the history of Coppell. And the history of Coppell book. They went and photographed all the art in Coppell, and they came in with this just most thoughtful, saying the sands of time. You're on Sandy Lake Road, and this represents, and the design of, a lot of the different history in Coppell. And they've done a remarkable job, we think. And what they're talking about doing with the light that's going to kind of go down, this gold light that's going to go down like sand is going through the art, in the evening, I think will be very dramatic. So
it does look interesting. For as long as it's not a slap in the face because we're in the middle of that barbell with the retail on both.
It's an hourglass, not a barbell.
Yeah. I like the hourglass.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The tree mitigation, Mary, you said was about 113,000.
So with light industrial, it's about 11.4.
Okay, but the combined,
So, if it wasn't light industrial, it would have been closer to 113,000.
okay. That's a requirement. That's not, it can't be waived. That's a pure mitigation requirement.
With light industrial, that's just standard.
Okay. Okay. That's all the questions I have for now. Any questions of the applicant by the commission? None?
Thank you.
Well, your compiler there answered all the questions. Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody who would like to speak for or against the proposed application? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion by the commission? Sue?
Yes. So I really like the art piece, and I like it that you've kept the hotel in here, but I kind of feel like this is a little bit of a bait and switch. This is one of the entry portals to Coppell, and putting another industrial building right on our front door between Grapevine and Coppell and right there at the freeway. I don't know that that's the welcoming that we want to show in Coppell, to be honest. We were talking about retail and placemaking and hotels, and now we're talking about tilt wall, industrial, and truck docks. So I'm not really in support of changing that 9 acres over to a light industrial. I do like the hotel concept and the retail concept that we had before.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Well, I'll go ahead and put my 2 cents in, and thank you for the explanation, because my first reaction was also, wait a minute, more industrial versus what the previous application was. I had some concern there. Hearing the trials and tribulations you all have had over 18 years, it kind of makes sense on that. I like that you have a better looking structure, office, and worked with staff to get to this point. So it's not my ideal one. However, I could support it. I am a believer in the entry portal to our community, with North Lake across the street and all the things that got over there. I think it'll be a compliment, but just the back end of that, the industrial, just iffy on from my perspective, but I'm okay with it. In the explanations has helped out on the transition, not so much distribution, more of a lighter tech, those kinds of things. So I could warm up to it. I was the trees. I asked about the trees in the work session earlier, because that was kind of, even though they're not specimen trees, it was kind of a little grove, something that the previous site worked with. Was a little disappointed to see it go, but you all are going to be doing some other things to try to make up for that, in addition to paying some dollars for that. So that's a hard one for me to swallow, but generally I feel I could support this one. Any other discussion by the commission? Ed?
Yeah, I would just add, I mean, I see what everyone is saying in terms of it being retail, but I think it's a pretty good use for that particular real estate, and I can see why more of a retail use was more difficult to market in that area. And I think they've done a nice job with the facade of the building in terms of the entryway into Coppell, that it's it looks nice, and I don't think it would deter anyone from necessarily thinking a certain way about Coppell because of the look of it. So I'm certainly in support of it.
Okay. Any other final discussion? Okay, is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would move that item 11 be approved, PD-297R-8C/LI and future land use map amendment as submitted, subject to all the conditions of city staff.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Portman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Marr. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Blankenship,
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Portman,
Aye.
Chairman Haas,
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker,
Aye.
and Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
6 in favor and 1 opposed, motion carries.
Respected comment there, Sue. I see your position there. Okay. Item 12 this evening is to consider approval of West Sandy Lake Road Addition 2, Lots 1 and 4, Block A minor plat, to create 4 commercial lots on 16.57 acres of land located at the northeast corner of Sandy Lake Road and State Highway 121, at the request of the property owner, Ferguson Realty, being represented by Dave Littleton of Half and Associates. Staff presentation by Ms. Brown-Boswell. Mary?
So this is a companion request to the PD for the development of this property to establish the new concept plan for the hotels, office warehouse, the item we just discussed. So the plat will identify any and provide any fire lanes, mutual access, street, sidewalk, and utility easements for the development. Staff is recommending approval of West Sandy Lake Road Addition 2, lots 1 to 4, Block A, subject to the following conditions. 1, that there may be additional comments at the time of engineering and building permit review. 2, the approval of the plan development by City Council and change of future land use map. And 3, to create a property owners association for lots 2 and 3, and another for lots 1 and 4, and submit a draft copy for the city attorney to review prior to the filing of the plat. That is the end of my presentation. Sorry.
I was waiting for the
Dramatic
grand
pause, I'm
finale
sorry.
there. The big reveal. All right, any questions of staff by the commission? Okay, any discussion on the replat for the proposed application? Okay, is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will move that item 12, West Sandy Lake Road Addition 2, be approved as submitted, subject to staff conditions.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Portman. Is there a second?
I second.
Second, Commissioner Guerra. Karen, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay. Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Blankenship,
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Portman,
Aye.
Chairman Haas,
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker,
Aye.
and Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
6 approved, 1 opposed, motion carries.
Very good. Thank you very much to the applicants and working with staff on this one. So, best of luck on that. All righty, item 13 on the agenda is update of city council action items from the last council meeting. We reviewed those in pre-session. Prior to adjourning here, any final staff comments for tonight, Mary?
No, sir.
Thank you for the shirt.
Very welcome.
We understand the rules on wearing those.
Wear responsibly. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. All righty. Item 14 this evening is adjournment. It is 8:21, and this meeting is adjourned.